Hi everyone, I hope you've had the best Christmas you could have had this year. So for these next lot of videos I decided to do a new start to finish series, and this time I'm going to do another remix contest. This is the, if I say this right, Luuk Van Dijk Kooky remix contest. The deadline for this is actually the 4th of January, I believe, so there's not a lot of time to work on this one. So the plan is that I'm going to spend a few hours on this today, and I'm going to cut that video up and disperse it over time. So that would give me more time to work on this and hopefully get something ready to actually submit. The other benefit of this, I think, is that the way I'm going to cut it and actually work it is I'm not going to have the camera on, mainly because it's not going to last 3 or 4 hours. So there's no point in even trying. But I am going to record the screen, record my voice as I'm going through things, and then I'm going to cut out bits that maybe are a bit boring or, the generic stuff. And yeah, so the plan really is that if we do this for 3 or 4 hours, you'll see what you can get within that time. Obviously, with this being a remix, I've got all the stems, so there's quite a lot. I think there's about 20. It's probably even more, slightly more than 20. So that means I'm not having to come up with a completely brand new idea. So 3 or 4 hours work, really, you could get a finished track. I'm hoping to get a complete idea done in that time, and then yeah, just see where we're at with it. So I'm going to turn the camera off now, and then we're going to dive into Ableton. I'd just like to say before then, this is going to be coming out before the new year, so I hope you all have a happy new year too. A happy New Year's Eve, happy New Year's Day, and yeah, let's all hope that 2021 is a much better year for us all.
Check it.
If you haven't heard the track already, I suggest you go listen to it. I'm not going to play it on here just because I'll get copywritten, and I don't want that. So the track itself is quite a dark, minimal track. It's something that I wouldn't necessarily play. It is a bit too dark for me. I think with the stems that we've been given, I could change this into something that I potentially would play. And that's the goal really with remixes. You want to be making your own version of it, basically. You want to improve on it if you can. Sometimes people fail miserably. And yeah, at the moment I'm just sticking my headphones in the socket. That's what all the noise is in the background. I'm just trying to make sure I've got everything exactly how I want it for this next 3 to 4 hours of work. And yeah, hopefully we all learn something from this. I've watched a few tutorial videos recently on Fader Pro and YouTube, so hopefully I can pass on some of that knowledge that was useful to me. I've already kind of had a play with this. I'm not going to go back to that track though. I'm going to completely start again, just because I wasn't particularly fond of what I came up with. So I'm going to try some other things. But what that helped me do was actually decide if I was going to be able to work with this song. I think it's really helpful to actually be able to, sample the samples and make sure that you can actually work with what's been given and you can make something that's decent enough. If I was listening to these and then no original ideas came to mind at the time, then I just simply wouldn't be doing this remix contest. But I feel like there's a few sounds in here that I like the sound of that can be changed and modified into something new. Well, not necessarily new, but something a little bit different, because that's the idea of a remix. You don't want to be completely new, because then you're just basically making an original song with the sounds you're given. But a couple of the sounds I liked was the bass synth. Really nice sound that evolves over time. So if I show you this, there's different parts where it's changing. Oh, turn the warp off. This is at 126, so for the time being I'm just going to stick to that. Very cool sounds, chords. some nice sounds in there. And yeah, so mysterious. So what I'm going to start with, I am just going to start with the drum beat. Let's just get something down for now, and then we can build upon that. So let's use what we've already got in there for now. So the kick, let's get in the hats, hat FX. Okay, so from just that quick little intro, I liked some of these sounds, so I'm just gonna start mixing these and making them more how I would like them to be. So let's start with the kick. We need to solo that. Currently it's sitting at -10. I like to get the kick at around -6, so let's bump out to 4 dB. And on my master, I do have Ozone 8. And I do like to look at the visual side of things as well, just so I can see how long this kick is and the shape of it. It's got this kind of little dip in it that I kind of just want to make rounder. So I'm going to start with some drum bus and some EQ, I think. Now again, this is going to sound pretty loud, I think. Let's hear. Yeah. Another thing, I'm just going to bring this back down to -6 for now. I believe the first kick is being, yeah. So when you drop samples in, a lot of the time in Ableton, you do get this kind of little volume automation, so just make sure you get rid of that when you're using kicks. Sometimes I do this, sometimes it doesn't work, it gives an awful sound to it. But in this case, I think that's how it should be. You need to ease off down again to -6. Oh, that'll do. I'm just going to slap a limiter on it just to catch it if it does go over -6. There you go. Now I don't want to go over the top with this because obviously this kick is part of this remix pack, so it's already been processed a bit, so you don't want to go too over the top with it. Right now all I'm kind of doing is trying to create something new with it, but ideally you wouldn't need to go that deep with what I'm doing with the EQ and the drum bus. I think I'm also going to shorten it so it's a bit tighter. I'm too poor and don't bother with LFO filter. I just use this free version, TAL filter too. I think it's good. I mean, you don't get the waveform over the top, but because I'm using it with Ozone, it doesn't really matter anyway. That's wrong settings. There we go. And basically, I'm just trying to get rid of that tail. So we're still getting that initial punch of the kick, but the body, the tail of it were reducing, which makes the overall kick sound shorter and tighter, and it will make all the drums sound tighter too. I don't particularly like them long boomy kicks. I think that'll do for now. I like the way it's looking, the way it's sounding. I'm just going to quickly do an A-B so you can hear what I've done. So this is what it was before. This is what it is now. Bit more impactful. Let's double check it's still at -6. It's gone slightly over, so... There we go, -6. All right, moving on. Next, let's listen to it with the snare. I'm not sure I'm going to keep the snare in there, but I might layer it up. Who knows? Let's find out. Oh, turn you off. Yeah, I don't like that. Let's make another one. Oh, what I am going to do as well, actually, is I'm going to sample this new kick, just so I can stick it into a MIDI. So a MIDI track. So if I do freeze track, and then I want to flatten, there's my new kick. Just gonna name this for the sake of naming it. I should also save this. Current project. Yeah, I do this a lot. I'm very OCD, basically. That's me kick. Kick. And now I'm gonna slap that into a MIDI track. And the reason I'm doing this is just so it's a bit more, I've got more control over it, because what I'm planning on doing is using the groove pools later on. Oops. That's gone way too quiet. There we go. I'm just going to check ozone again, make sure it's still correct. Yeah, nice. Get rid of that kick. And then if we loop that, there we go. So yeah, the main reason I wanted to do it this way is just so I can later on, if I decide, well, it is going to have swing on it, but then in places I decide to, you know, stick an extra double kick there, the swing will be applied, and then it's going to match everything else that's going to have the swing on it, which will be like the hats and the top loops and the percussion. Because right now that's got no swing on it, but if we were to add a swing, PC 16 swing, let's do 65. There you go. And then I'm just going to commit it just so you can see. It was there before, now it's been pushed over there. So it's just an easy way to stick to the 16th notes and let the groove pool worry about actually swinging everything. And then it's all going to be consistent too. So let's keep that like that. I'm just going to take this off. Okay, so now I want to do... Let's do hats first, because you get a better groove with hats than claps. time being. Quite nice. Let's look at span a second. What am I thinking here? What am I thinking? We'll keep them there in the project for now, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a drum rack with my own in there. So let's find a drum rack. Let's go to one of my favorite packs. Hits, hi-hats. I'm just gonna get all of these, put them in. Got my MIDI controller set up, so So what I like to do is just get the first kind of offbeat hat in there and then build around that. So in this case, we want that one. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. Don't know if you can hear my stomach rumbling, but I probably should have ate something before starting this. But never mind. 16 bar view. And I'm going to find another one. Go for the one right at the top. What I'm going to do now I'm starting to build up on this, I'm going to slap the swing on it. That was quite nice. That was an accident as well, but seems to work. Just got to fine tune some of these. Tell you what, I quite liked it with the reverb on it. little bit loud. Now you're a little bit too quiet. Same with you, you're a little bit loud. So I don't really want to have them open ones in there, but I do like these little closed ones that are quiet and in the background. I think that helps at the end of the 4 bars. Get rid of that bit again. So what you're hearing there is in my template I do have a reverb set up. This isn't the right kind that I want anymore, but I mean we do normally need one. Let's get rid of that delay. It's way too long. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. These are all the hats. I'm just going to group them together, hats. And then we can add an open hat later. Let's start working with some claps. So I'm going to do the same as before. Instruments, drum rack. Then go to my samples. Let's find some good claps. Okay, I like them two sounds. So we've got a snare almost, and then like a crunchy clap. I'm just going to get span open as well, just so I can see the stereo imaging of both these samples. So that one's very good in mono. That one's got a bit more stereo to it. That's the wrong one anyway. Okay, so they're both good. I'm going to layer those up, and so it's that one and that one. Yep, let's record. simple. And they're because I've done it with the keyboard, they're a bit more natural, which is what I'm after. I think that snared one does need to land on the beat, so I'm just going to quantize that. But this other one can be a bit off. That'll do. It might actually be better if it's a bit forward. That's too much. Yeah, I like it like that. Let's keep it like that. Clap. No, I didn't mean to put you in there. There you go. Loop mode. 1 do do do. And again, we just need to fine tune these samples a little bit because they're quite loud. Get rid of the actually that release is coming from the room reverb, isn't it? So that one's quite long. Yep. Oops. Okay, I think this one needs to be a little bit quieter. I'm just going to EQ them both differently. No need for all that. So what I noticed there when I stuck the EQ on it, if I just turn these off, you see this little like spike. I'm just wondering, like from experience, a lot of the time when you see those kind of spikes, those can be resonating frequencies, and there's things that you do want to kind of remove. So I've kind of just gone in and found the spot and then seeing if it does help it. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, if to actually remove it. But in this case, I think that sounds a lot cleaner. And I think I'm just going to lower the high end of this one so this other one can shine through. Should have done one from default. We're done. Now I'm going to try and see what these sound like with a little bit of panning to them. And because I've panned them, I also want to check how they sound in mono, that it doesn't get too quiet or phasing issues. Which one did I do before? Right now that's coming in louder than the kick, so we do need to lower that. Just going to slap some saturation on them both as well. Then put another EQ at the end because we've now added some more low end to it, to this with the saturation. Okay, let's try a different one of these. Cool, I'm happy with that. Let's now try an open hat as well. And again, we want it in MIDI mode, so if I decide to do something fancy with the positioning of these instead of doing it just off the offbeat, you know, you might want to slap one there as well. Then I can just go to the groove and slap that on there. I might change the groove, but for now it's fine. It's a very easy thing to change down the line. But let's find some open hats, and you'll notice I'm just sticking to the same pack at the moment. The reason why is I do believe that these sounds were all made together, so that will help all these sounds like gel together when you use them. And I think it's better than jumping around different packs all the time. And I mean, I've got loads of packs. If anything, I've got too many. So like limiting yourself can definitely help. I'm going to listen to this with the track playing. That one's the winner so far, number 9. Number 12's decent too. Okay, so I quite like both these sounds. Number 14's this kind of more like a shaker than it is a bit more like a shaker, so I'm gonna change this slightly. Get rid of the attack. It's quite sharp on your ears, so I'm just going to fade that attack away as well. I do think this one needs turning down though. And then let's put it back into this group so we hear it with the reverb. Get in there. There we go. And again, I'm looking for any spikes that might indicate resonating frequencies. It's quite harsh. Nice. I think I am just going to lower number 23. It's quite harsh, isn't it? look at the EQ here too. Now I could just have done this on kind of the group, but I do like to add their own to each individual one. And then sometimes near the end of the mixing phase, that's when I will put one on the group as well, just to kind of fine tune all them sounds together. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. We might add a shaker later, but for now I'm going to go back to the remix parts and see what else there is. I did delete some things before, so we had these hat FXs. Don't know if that's a word. Some of them are quite nice. Quite like that bit. But I would like to continue the sound, so I'll stick some reverb on it. Yeah, I think the effect's cool, but right now I'm not sure if it's going to last. It really depends on the kind of vibe I go for with this song now. I'm going to just slap the sub bass in there now, just so I can hear the groove of the track working with the sub bass and, you know, make sure that it's sounding as good as it can. Now, I don't know if this is already sidechain, but I'm going to put kickstart on it anyway. Where are you? Kick. There it is. Sounded good. Yeah, I like the rolling sound of that. What I don't like is, well, it's not that I don't like it, it's just that I've already kind of got the open hat. Although it is a bit longer, so you know what, yeah, let's keep it as is. I might change the transient so it's a little bit shorter and snappier though. And this can be another layer that comes in later in the track to give it some more energy. So what do I want to do? There was something I wanted to do with this. Okay, so some of these notes, if I just make this dead loud, you can see them, are already off the grid. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to Command Shift U, quantize to the 16th. Oh, that's not worked, so I'm going to have to do it manually. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get everything back onto the grid so then I can add my own groove to it so it blends in better with the rest of the track. So if I come down here I'm going to have to do this manually, so it's going to take me a little bit of time. Things being slightly off is okay, but the tighter the better. And I think I learnt this off of Alex Preston's Fader Pro. Yeah, it was his Fader Pro tutorial or class or whatever you want to call it. To be honest, I think this is just the same loop. So if I want to be laser, I'll just do it like this, and then I'll copy and paste that across. Now this might sound shit, so let's find out how it sounds when it's quantized. I'm just going to quickly do that. We also need to turn it off that mode. Just for comparison, let's hear how it sounds when it goes into this other one. So you can hear there what's actually happening. This version here is a much nicer version, and that's because there's already been swing applied to this. I've gone in and put it all back to the grid, as if you've just gone into MIDI and, you know, just done a 16th notes. But now I'm going to add my own groove to it, and hopefully this should sound much better. I'm going to commit that as well. And you know what? This one here sounds pretty much the same. So this top loop might have a very similar groove to what I'm using currently. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get rid of that and just keep using this loop, because I know it's going to fit in with the groove of the track I've currently got. Check out span to see how we're doing with the frequency spectrum, see what we've filled up, see what's empty. See, with the bass line now, we're hitting up here, but if you notice when the high end comes in, if you look at that line that's going across horizontally, you can see that the high end isn't quite loud enough. Really, those two things should be quite similar. Depending on what you're going for, I like it to be quite as close as possible, really, so that the high end and the low end are pretty much identical. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to start looking at turning some of these sounds up. So let's start with this one. Just going to get span open as well, just so we can see what's changing. A little bit closer now, which is better. So I'm just going to leave that as is, and then come back to that, because we're going to be adding more to this. So there might be some percussion loops later on that need those extra little, that will apply those extra high end sounds that we need. So yeah, I think the groove so far is decent. I'll stick this in percussion for the time being. this crazy pad sound. So I'm just going to stick some of these things in just so I can hear how the track is sounding, like I did with the bass. Cool, so I can already tell that the drums had sounded decent. So I guess now I still want to add a bit more percussion in there, some of my own percussion. This doesn't really come with any. I think it was quite a minimal track in terms of percussion as well, so it was just kind of like kick, hi-hat, snare as the clap. So what I like to do is I like to look through some loops for percussion and just see what kind of grooves well, and then cut it up and basically do the same as what I did with them hi-hats before, which was quantize them to the grid and then apply my own swing to them after I've pick out the sounds that I like. So I'm going to do that next. Yeah, so let's do that. I just got myself a blanket because my feet are cold. It's really cold in my flat at the moment. So right, what am I looking for? I'm looking for loops. So drum loops, percussion loops. And again, you'll notice I'm still in the same pack as I was before. Let's get rid of that. It's a nice little shaker loop. I'm just going to put that in there. And again, this is what I mentioned earlier with the high end. There you go, you get these spikes. We're going to have to tame those. Also like to put kickstart on that. Bit too much. Let's try and quantize this to the grid. Yeah, so that one's slightly different. And even though I said that about percussion before, I'm going to put that in the drums rather than the percussion group. Percussion's normally kind of like one-shot hits and stuff like that, not these kind of shaker grooves and open hats and stuff. I like to put them in the drums with everything else. And as I said before, there was some very sharp peaks in this. I guess that's part of the sound, so we'll just leave that. I am just going to quickly EQ, getting rid of the lows, even though there doesn't appear to be any. Dope. Right, back to percussion. Back to percussion, back to percussion. Quite liked some of these hits. Not that one, though. It's got a bit of tonality to it. Do, 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 do. let's copy this, different ending. And again, we want kickstart on it, so these parts that are hitting on the kick aren't interfering too much. It almost works as like a texture. It's quite nice bit of low end to it. Well, mid-range, I should say, which is adding to the track. And I don't even think I want to change the pattern to it. It's really nice. What I am going to change is do what I did before, quantize the grid, swing it, see what it sounds like. Nice. Trying to commit it again. Oh, I'm curious to see how different it actually is. So if we do it with this one, quantize, so that's what it looks like when it's on the grid, on the 16th grid. And then if we apply my swing to it, commit, you can see the difference. And basically this is allowing my track and all my sounds to gel much nicer together. If you had this one and then you had another loop or another, you swing it yourself, another percussion hit, what you're going to then get is you're going to have so many elements with all these different swings. And if you're looking for that tight drums and the minimal feel, they all should be following the same swing. You can get away with it in some cases, but the closer all these sounds are to their own, like their overall grid, that's basically what this groove is. It's a different kind of grid. But if everything's like the closed hat, if that's hitting there as well, then it's all going to sound much more uniformed and work together. So we'll get rid of that one. And then what I am going to do, actually, I am going to get rid of it in certain places. If anything, it probably should be the other way around, because we've got this percussion up here that's being played as well. So if we put that in there, put that in there as well, what you'll start to see is I'm bouncing these percussion loops off one another. So these ones aren't hitting at the same time. There's a gap here, so this one can shine through. Then we did have some here before, but the problem with that is I'm getting these two as well. So really, I want that to shine through. So I'm going to get rid of it there. Again, there's a gap there, there's a gap there, and then it's filled with this gap. So all these loops are being used to kind of bounce off one another. And again, to create its own groove. Span again. Nice. So I'm just gonna have a nosy and see what other percussions we've got in this group. See if there's anything else. Right now it is sounding quite full, but we'll see. We'll see what we can get in there. Now, I don't think that's the right key, but something like this will definitely improve this song because it's going to make it a bit more, there's going to be more melodic nature to it and some more tones. Right now, everything's just kind of percussion led and there's no kind of, there's no melody happening, there's no musicality. Nice. I'm just going to add that, and then I think that's it with the percussion. Let's hear it. Now, some of these are playing at the same time as other ones, and we also need to get it in time with the groove. But because this one feels like it's got a bit more of a melody to it. Well, not a melody, but actual notes being played. There's a key to that, so I think working alongside the actual hits of this percussion, it works. So let's quantize this as before. There you go. And now I want to place it in certain parts. I think I'm going to put some delay on it too. Work. I don't know why this happens sometimes. Strange. Ping pong it. It's happening a bit too often for my liking now. Cool. And what I need to check, and I need to add this to my template because I use it all the time, but I've just not got around to adding it. This was free when I first got it. I don't know if it still is, but if it is, you defo should have it. All it is, it lets you check how it sounds in mono, but it also lets you check how the sound. It removes the mono frequency, so all you can hear are the sides, the stereo sides. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to key this, open you up your M and your S. I know S is normally solo in those channels, but I don't really use that much. I prefer to do this, so I'm pressing M and S there. And the first thing I've noticed, if you listen, you can hear some of the kick. So I need to put a utility on that and make sure it's completely mono. And now I can't hear it. Can you hear it? It's there, it's in the background. And now I've got rid of it. Cool. All right, so what I was checking there is exactly what you saw. I wanted to check that there wasn't anything causing potential issues. Now, it probably wouldn't, but it's just simpler to keep your kicks in mono. You can have some of it slightly out, you know, like if it's got a bit of high end to the kick, then yeah, have that clickiness, be a bit more stereo. But just to keep things simple, I'm just going to keep it in mono. But the other thing I was listening for was what elements are stereo and if there's anything else that can be pushed a bit wider. going to put an auto pan on that and have it go from ear to ear every now and then. I think I'm going to do the same with the weird effects hit. There's one called Around the Head that's quite cool. It's a bit too much. Nice, and again, let's check that in mono. Check it in stereo too. Cool, that's fine. It does get a bit quieter in mono, but I mean, I'm not fussed about you hearing that sound in the club really. It's just a nice little bit that works for stereo only. So let's listen to the whole thing with that bass groove. Again, I'm just trying to add something new to these sounds. Might be a little bit too much. Because it's hitting when the kick hits, it doesn't need to be centered. Give it its own space so it stands out a little bit more. And then I'm going to do the same for this one, but it's going to the other ear instead. That was 30, wasn't it? Make you 30 as well. Checking out the imager as well. See that whole sound in mono, and I'm just gonna stereoize it slightly. Then check it in mono, make sure everything's okay. Yep, like that, sounding good. Definitely interesting. And I have not had to do an automation for this. So once you've got that set up, then you can create mental things with your keyboard.